My name is Lindsay, and here's a little bit of my experience with the paranormal. A few years ago, I started noticing images in photos I was taking around my house or even outside of my home. They were mainly with my older daughter. It started off with just like a mist that was surrounding her. I thought maybe there was a fluke with the camera or, I don't know, foggy or something. And slowly, it wasn't just so much a white, hazy mist. It started turning more of into like a shape, like a human form. You could actually see like a silhouette. Shortly after that, within a few months, I was able to take a picture. Well, I didn't even mean to. The girls were all sleeping, having a slumber party, and I put on my camera on night vision just to catch the kids all sleeping. And instead of catching them, there was a face that came directly into my camera. And that was when I knew that there's something else with us. And it was unexpected, but I was, overly happy to, have another child. And then I started noticing in photos of me when I was pregnant, you could see the same face popping up in my photos. It was never just like a mist. It was an actual, you could see eyes, nose, mouth, a distinct face in my pictures. But at the time, the pictures never showed anything with my older daughter anymore. It was only in pictures of me being pregnant. So once my daughter was born, it became known that there was really something with us. That was when it seemed that things would start happening around the house. You would hear knocking from different rooms. You could hear footsteps in the attic. And I still kind of kept saying to myself, okay, this isn't real. This isn't happening. It's no big deal, and I just kept blowing it off. For years at this point, I've been blowing it off. Go back in the back part of the house, and I decide I'm going to bring the baby back in her nursery, and I'm going to change her diaper, just like I should as a regular parent in the baby's nursery. So I bring her back there. I get the diaper off and her pajamas off and everything else, and I felt it immediately within just a minute or two. Just something right behind me again, and my back was facing that closet door. And I just kind of ignored it for a second, and then I could hear the clicking in the closet again, and something made me have to turn around and look. And when I did, that door was swinging open slowly. I grabbed the baby, brought her back into the living room, finished changing her, and I never went back there again. I would go in the morning and grab all her diapers, her clothes, anything she would need for that day, and didn't open that door again until the next day. And it would always be in the morning because it was light outside, I guess, so I felt safer. Though there was really no point at any time of the day that you still felt safe in the back end of the house. So since the baby kept waking up in her crib, screaming, crying, I decided I'm gonna set up a baby monitor and just, see. Once I had done that, I had it all set up. I'm sitting on the couch, I'm just watching TV like a normal night, and all of a sudden I hear this long, deep growl coming across the monitor. At the same time that this growl comes on, she starts screaming. And I just ran back there, and I just grabbed her out of the crib and brought her. And I kind of thought, okay, fluke, growling, she's screaming. All right. Next night, business, doing what I usually do around the kitchen and living room. And I hear the same growl. And then she screams. So from that point on, she was never allowed to sleep back in that nursery or even any part of that house. She was sleeping next to me by my side at all times. Eventually, the back of the house was so heavy feeling and scary feeling that I shut it off completely. There's a hallway door that separates the back part from the front part, and that hallway door stayed shut from then on. And we all ended up sleeping on the couches in the living room. The only time I went back there was to do laundry, and I literally would run in there and run back out. You would feel like there was something behind you, but you were afraid to look because you didn't want to see it. But then again, you knew if you didn't see it, what if it reached out and grabbed you, kind of a feeling. It wasn't, you couldn't go back there. It was done. I closed it off completely and figured this is going to be my life. For the rest of my life, I have to deal with whatever this is, following my family. Once I realized that I'm dealing with something way bigger than me, I decided to start looking into a paranormal investigator. And I did find somebody to come out.
My name is Chris Malonzo. I'm the founder of Paranormal Society New Orleans. And what we do is we go around to different residents and businesses and determine whether or not the location is haunted by using the most up-to-date equipment in the field. And we have equipment like SLS cameras, Oculus 5s, spirit box, whatever device that we can set up to maybe get an intelligent response from some sort of energy. We go with that, and it's been pretty successful so far. We only have total, including me, 4 members on the team. We really like to keep it small. We have Mark, who is head of our equipment tech, and he makes sure that all the equipment is running good, and he really specializes with like the SLS and everything. I'm kind of more of a REMPA K2 kind of guy, and we all have our different roles that we play. We have Kevin Moreno, who's one of our investigators, and we also have Alexis Harrington, who's an investigator.
After I had contacted an investigative team, I told them a little bit about what was going on.
So when we take a case like the one that Lindsay has here, when we come in, it's to provide her with proof, whether or not she's actually being haunted, or whether or not she's being affected by, hypersensitivity to electromagnetic fields. And sometimes with bad wiring in your homes or a faulty breaker box, it can cause these symptoms to happen. A lot of nausea feeling, hallucinations, the feelings of being watched, paranoia. All these things happen. So when someone says, I go into the certain part of the house and it's, haunted and I see a shadow or I get touched, it could be where the breaker box is or faulty wiring is. And every time they go in there, they're experiencing a shock of electromagnetic field, and they're hypersensitive to that, and they can think they're being haunted. So when we come in, and that was one of the first things when she told me about the nursery and how she always had that feeling, that heaviness feeling. To me, being trying to come from a logical standpoint of these things and not really the tech side and not really the spiritual side, the first thing I thought, there's got to be faulty wiring in there. And we ran through there with the K2 meter, but we didn't get anything at all.
They took me seriously, which I didn't think anybody was going to take this seriously. And they were at my house within, I think, 4 days.
The night we investigated Lindsay's house was, we basically rolled up, it's about 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock time, and I went straight into the room that she said she was having all the activity with my SLS camera. And it wasn't too far along, the rest of the crew followed in with me. And I started shooting, first thing I grabbed was the SLS. So I started shooting in that room towards that crib to see if I can get any activity.
Nothing to be scared of. All it's going to do is light up when you touch it. Let us know you're here.
You go in that crib and touch that device in the crib, it makes a sound. Don't believe it. I don't think nobody's here. Yeah, you with the hand crawling over the crib, yeah.
Get it crawling on the crib.
Can you get away from that crib? Get away from the crib now. I was in the nursery with the SLS camera. I immediately caught this figure climbing all over the crib. It was unbelievable. I could not believe what I was looking at. It was crawling like a spider, and it basically was just malforming into like different shapes, and it was really creepy looking. And it was even like digging in the crib, like it was trying to dig for something, and it was just the oddest thing.
That night, they got more than I ever bargained for. I just thought it would be nothing, and that it was just something that could be really easily just, okay, you can go now, and it would be gone, but it seemed like it was slowly gaining its strength.
So what was really crazy is when I started shooting SLS camera at the crib, Kevin came into focus, and when Kevin came into focus with the camera, all of a sudden the entity popped up right in front of Kevin, and I asked Kevin, I said, Kevin, do you feel anything? And he's like, yeah, I feel a little electrical charge.
A static shock on my hand. Little to my amazement did I know that Mark was catching this thing touching me.
Everything I was asking it to do, it did, and I said, can you please touch his hand? And all of a sudden you saw on the SLS camera actually the spirit tapping his hand. Like, I don't know if it was trying to communicate with him or what, but it was the most oddest thing ever I've ever seen with the SLS cameras. I mean, I've never seen a spirit interact with another person in that way, ever.
And the thing about it was, when it was on the crib, it looked like a creature. It didn't have a form. But as soon as it touched me, it mapped out itself and it made it look like a human. It had a head, it had a torso, it had arms, it had legs, and it was about my height, if not taller. I did not know while I was holding the K2 meter that this thing was touching me until I felt the static cold shock on my arm or hand. And from there, Mark was just like, Kevin, it's touching you. And immediately I was freaked out. I kept my composure because I knew that this would be something that we could show Lindsay to let her know that she wasn't going crazy in her house, that there was actually something there.
Kevin walked over in front of the bed and the figure started touching him. That was when I knew that it had moved from the crib to Kevin. And that's a very intellectual response.
So after that, we decided to do some audio. And from the audio, we got this thing talking about very personal information.
They were catching a lot on, the voice recordings, and I was catching stuff on my own too when they weren't here. And I kept thinking the whole time, this is fake, this is fake, this is fake, until I could hear some of the recordings that were coming through when they're asking questions, and it's answering them on stuff that a machine just couldn't tell you. The part that floored me the most was the part where they were trying to get this ghost to repeat, or finish the ending of nursery rhymes. And it wouldn't say anything. All of a sudden, he got very quiet, and he wouldn't say anything. And then it says, Oompa.
Ma'am, are you Asian? Chocolate.
And at the time, that was when I said, oh my God, this thing is really here, and it can hear everything I'm saying. I never have sung my baby nursery rhymes, ever. I sing her the Oompa Loompa song. And when it said that, and it wouldn't repeat the nursery rhymes, it made me realize, okay, this is real. I wasn't in the room with them when they were in the nursery, trying to get some answers. But I was standing in the hall trying to, listen to see what was going on. And when they had asked, why it was here or what it wanted, and it said baby, that was very fearful. At that point, I was terrified. And I knew that this thing has got to leave my house.
Another particular time though when I asked if, do you want to cross over? And you heard a real no. You want to cross over?
I just heard a no.
Yeah,
That
I
was
heard a
different
no.
We had the spirit box running at a low volume, but it was louder than the spirit box, and I didn't hear the spirit box stop. Like usually when you hear something come through the spirit box or it gets a hit, it kind of stops on its tracks. But that kept going, which leads me to believe that it was a disembodied voice that we captured.
Finally, the other thing that we used was the K2 meter itself. We left it on the side of the bed, just sitting there, because we knew that that area wasn't contaminated. So we left it on a specific part of the bed that we knew that there wasn't going to be anything coming through. There wasn't any cell phones around. There wasn't anything that could interfere with this. So we were asking questions.
Your room. Whoa. This is your room. Can you light it all the way up to red for me? We started getting K2 hits. And I asked it, is this your house? And it went straight to red. And I was, very surprised at that. If this is your room, light it up to red for me. You own this house? Is this your house?
Is this your property?
What about Alexis?
This was an intellectual being that was reaching out. When we brought out the K2 meter, there was multiple times where we would ask it a question and it would have an intelligent response. The green light will go to yellow and then sometimes to red. And that will not happen unless it can detect some sort of presence or energy in the air in order for it to do that. So in a way, when we would ask a question and it would go all the way to red, it's like it's answering.
Here. Light up the device.
Yeah?
That was a yep.
I'm gonna ask a question, okay?
Are you angry that we're here? Will you tell me why you're angry? Okay. Are you angry that no one sleeps in this room?
You want the baby to sleep in this room with you.
Do you want somebody to sleep in this room? What?
Wow.
Do you want Lindsay to sleep in this room?
Do you not like the way we were talking to you earlier? Didn't like it.
We apologize for that, but we appreciate you talking to us now.
Mark didn't mean it. Say sorry, Mark.
I'm sorry.
Mark's like, I just get emotional and upset.
But right when I walk in there, it's like I was a little aggressive towards this entity because it was, the claims were it was messing with a little infant. So I kind of was heated up because of that story. Because I just heard the story before I investigated. So I kind of wanted to have a clean, conscious thing when I go in there and see exactly what I'm dealing with. So it made me a little angry that I was messing with an infant. So I was kind of calling it out. But it was responding to me. So
Attached to her, and it wasn't going anywhere. So what we like to do is we like to teach the clients to take back their home. A lot of these spirits, they really feed off of negativity and fear. So if they come into, if they are attracted to a certain human or anything like, or someone like that, and they attach themselves to them, and that person exhibits fear, then you're feeding that negative entity, and it's going to get stronger as it goes on. And this looks like it was a simple case of of a bullying going on, to where someone was coming in, the spirit was coming in his home, and it picked Lindsay, a single mother, vulnerable, and it looked like it was attaching itself to her, and the more fear it got out of her, the stronger it got. And when we have these cases and we're teaching our clients to stand up to them, these things can go away completely. Sometimes they can come back. Sometimes they push back harder. We're not psychics or mediums, or we don't claim to be able to just magically get rid of spirits.
One night I'm in the master bedroom and I wake up 2 o'clock in the morning. I don't know why. And I said, "You are not allowed to have this room." You are not allowed to have any part of my house, and you have to leave.
What do you want? What the hell do you want? I already gave you the nursery. You've already had the master bedroom. Want your back? We don't want you in this house. You've got to get the hell out of my house. We don't want you here. You are not welcome here.
And it just seemed all of a sudden that it was gone. Like it lifted. Now I'm able to go into the nursery. We actually moved back into sleeping in the nursery. And it feels peaceful again in my home. I'm taking baby steps. I'm not letting her sleep in her crib quite yet. She's still sleeping next to me. But it feels better. Of course, I'm still gonna, be afraid, never knowing, is it gonna come back, or, I don't know if it's something that I do have to deal with forever, wondering, but it's affected my life big time, me and my kids. You always wonder, like, what was that sound? Is it back? Did I just, see something out the corner of my eye, and it keeps you on edge.